first rule in grip sport is you tell everyone about grip sport.
You know, crushing, pinch grip, thick bar, wrists.
If the best guy in the world can't lift 100 pounds on it, I don't give a shit about it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Grip Show. This time, I got something a little bit different for you guys. As promised, we're not just doing interviews. We have our first recap. And just to start things off, I'm going to be covering EOGC, which is the East Ohio Grip Championship. Is that right, Mike?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Making sure I'm getting the lingo right. So East Ohio Grip Championship. And is this the 6th installment or is this the 6th year?
Both the same thing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's been a yearly
sixth
competition
iteration of it, yeah. Yes.
Okay. So now, Jason, have you been involved in all of these from the beginning, or did you join on later?
No, I was in the first one. That was when we just started training for grip because he decided to have a contest.
Okay.
2018.
Now, has it always been, because just for people that are out there listening now or watching this video or something, for this competition, it was dual sanctioned. So you had the second stage for the Armlifting USA Super Series, but then you also hosted a few extra GSI events that was configured into the overall scoring for this competition. Did the competition start out dual sanctioned? Did it start out one way or the other? How's that kind of evolved over the years?
The first competition I did, it was just strictly arm lifting. It was every arm lifting event that was on the leaderboards. I think that was 6 events maybe. So took a while. I really knew nothing about grip sport before that. Then kind of took off. We were kind of getting into this stuff, and then we got on the grip board. I think Jason got on the grip board and saw something about Chris Rice having the last grip miss in Zanesville.
No, Jason Gonzalez told us about it.
That's what it was. Jason Gonzalez came to
The
show.
first for the contest, and he said, "Hey guys, should go out to Zanesville here in 2 or 3 weeks later." He said Chris is having the last grip miss.
Yeah. So Zanesville,
We never knew anything about it, or obviously
Zanesville's about 45 minutes from where I live, and never knew anything about it whatsoever. So I got a hold of Chris on the phone and kind of convinced him to, because he's a GSI guy, kind of convinced him to let me do an arm lifting contest with it, because we were trying to qualify for Russia for the Worlds. So we ended up having that and kind of run dual thing there, and then ever since then, I've done all dual sanction.
Okay. And do you think that'll kind of be the plan moving forward?
That's the way I like to do it. I just want to lift. I want to get numbers out there everywhere. I want to make it accessible to everybody, because some people don't like grip sport. Some people don't like arm lifting. I don't care. I just want to lift weights.
Yeah.
And see where it falls. So I'm all about bringing the sport together as much as I can.
And I'm pretty sure that was my idea for the dual sanction the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you think so?
It was.
Jason,
It's like those gorilla rows.
He's trying to take
Dude, I
credit
did
for
those
something
over
else.
a year ago. What do you think I just did? That was the first time I did them? You didn't see last summer when I did them?
I mean, I was doing.
Yeah, we got a debate over who invented gorilla rows or who saw what first, and then
I
that
never
ties
I
into.
didn't invent them. I can just do them.
So, for this year's turnout, because this is my first time competing at EOGC, and overall, man, I think it was a really good comp. I think we had, let me see, we have 11 total competitors, I believe.
Yeah.
And how did that kind of stack up to past years?
The very first one I did, I had probably similar numbers, maybe a couple more. I knew some people from Morgantown and they came over.
Okay.
The first one was actually a really good show, if I do say so myself. I didn't lift in it. I just just did the reffing and tried to figure out everything. But usually we're rolling about 6, 7 people.
Okay.
Obviously like to get more females involved in it.
Yeah. And I was going to mention that portion at some point. So I think I spoke to you off camera. I was saying, you know, for heavy hands that I'm running, me and Ben have like 20 plus signups, but we literally have not a single female signing up. So like the competition has female weight, weight classes and everything else. So if there's any female lifters that want to do heavy hands, like just because it's all guys, it doesn't mean that like it's an all male event or something. So I think the fact that, for being a somewhat, kind of like average size comp for like a local competition, the fact that you were able to get 3 female competitors out and at least fill a podium for like the overall for female athletes was pretty cool because like I said, we're looking at an upcoming competition that I'm doing where there's not a single female sign up. So maybe something to work on and something to push, but it seems like you already have, you know what I mean? You already have some more female participation or maybe some potential people. Cause you said 2 of the female lifters are your guys' spouses, correct? So that would account for 2. But the newer female lifter, this was her first competition.
Yeah, Chrissy, I had a late cancellation, as in about 7:37 that morning, and I just got a hold of pretty much about every female that I know that actually kind of lifts and works out. And I think she was like 3rd one on my list, and she lives in town, and just kind of convinced her to, hey, try something new.
Now, with that being said, after the competition, do you think that that's maybe somebody that'll be like staying in the fold? Or is she going to continue to do it? Do you think she'll probably stick with it? Like I don't know if you spoke with her or not, but what was her kind of take of having that first competition experience?
She said she's all about it. She'd like to do another one. I don't think she's quite ready to sign up for Armlifting USA just yet for a membership, but I think she might be doing King Kong. I know Jason's wife talked to her afterward, like the next day or so. Okay. But as far as I know, she's all about it.
She said she wants to at least do another one.
Okay. So like I said, I mean, you're getting at least that's something that's been talked about on like the Armlifting USA shows. I mean, that's something that's been brought up on the GSI side as well, is just trying to get female involvement. But it's good that that's something that you guys are kind of working on or putting it, taking into account when you're setting up these events, is actually just extending the hand out. If people don't show and they don't want to lift, then that's fine. But the fact that you're at least making an effort to kind of bring more female competitors into the sport, because I think that I don't know, maybe depending on their training background, but certain sports like maybe strong woman or like powerlifting, it might be a little bit, they might be a little more freaked out to go do something like that, certain people, whereas like a lot of times these grip competitions are a little more welcoming and laid back, and it's like, hey, if you like, I don't know, you're not going to have to squat 400 pounds today or get crushed if you miss the lift. It's like the worst thing that happens is it falls out of your hand and you just go on to the next thing, so it's a pretty easy entry strength sport for male and female competitors, but we seem to be kind of in a male dominant sport for the most part. And it's cool to see some of the newer women getting involved and newer prospects coming up. So as far as location, it was at Saffell Performance, and Mike, that's your gym, correct?
Yes.
And I'm just going off of what I've seen or maybe what we've briefly talked about, but you're working with all types of different athletes. I mean, it's not like you're a powerlifting gym or you're a grip only gym. You have a variety of kind of clients that you're working with. Could you just kind of give me a quick rundown of maybe some of the variety of athletes you work with and kind of what goes on there?
The majority of my athletes are runners, be it cross country, track, like long distance runners, sprinters, jumpers, that sort of thing. Have some basketball players, baseball players. I go anywhere from 5th, 6th grade up to, I have I now have a few guys and girls in college, and they'll come back over the summer. And yeah, sports performance type thing. A lot of running, sprinting, jumping, um, lifting. Lifting gets stronger, but strength is not the main goal. It's making you a better athlete.
Yeah, because a lot of times when you're training someone in that capacity, it's like the strength is just a tiny percentage of your sport, and sport is kind of like the king. You know what I mean? You have to kind of train what you're going to be doing, and it doesn't matter how much you max deadlift or whatever else. Like, how does that help? How does that translate to the field, the court, or the track, or whatever you're doing? So, I totally get that portion of it. Just wanted to bring that up, that, you have a gym, you're constantly training people. So, have any of the people that maybe you've trained, have they showed an interest in grip? Maybe people that are doing other sports. Has there ever been like some of the athletes you work with say, hey, have you ever got people into your competitions based on the fact that they're training for other sports?
I do have a baseball player. He's at he's a pitcher. He's at Upstate, down in South Carolina, and hopefully, with any luck, he'll get drafted by the end of this year. But he did. I think it was either my second or third grip contest. And so he's Jokabug he's a big fan of his. So he does implements and but
Gotcha. Now,
other than that, it's mostly the younger guys, like the junior high. They want to do the grip stuff more than, I guess, more the high school. But we're a little bit more, I want to say, we're a little bit more focused on what they're trying to do right now for high school. So
yeah, I mean, you only have so much time to kind of mess around. Like, if you're jumping and you're moving around and doing all these different things, you don't have time to like, well, hey, let's go mess with this rolling handle. It's like you're there for a purpose and you're training. So, I mean,
occasionally we'll get something like that in, but it's pretty rare.
I just didn't know if they'd see some of the stuff around, like, hey, that axle's over there. I wonder if I could pick it up, and it just like piques their interest a little bit, and maybe it kind of lures them in.
The tire axle that Jason brought over, they do like to try and lift that a lot.
Yeah,
doesn't really happen very often.
So if you guys are cool with it, like I said, I'm not going to go through and name every single lift, but kind of just give a generic breakdown, and we have everybody's stats or whatever, but kind of go lift by lift. And because we only have 3 females, if you guys would like, we could just start with the female division and kind of cut across on the female division and kind of knock those 3 competitors out there. And then we can kind of dive into the male divisions a little bit. So obviously, Jason, your wife, Melissa, and then Mike, your wife, Sarah, I mean, they've competed before, so this is not like their first rodeo when it comes to grip stuff. Whereas you said Chrissy, it's her first time ever doing this stuff. So generally speaking, you would expect her to be in 3rd place out of 3. And, it's your first time and you're going against people that have, kind of have a leg up on you. But
she was a pretty good sport about it. She just wanted to get in, give it a try.
Yeah. Well, and you're only going to improve after that initial competition. It's like, that's not like where your ceiling is, they're like, oh, my first competition. Well, that's my ceiling. It's like, no, that's just the beginning. Like, we'll get you stronger. You can improve. So, definitely probably has some potential moving forward if she sticks with it. So I'm trying just to break down everything here, and I don't want to be wrong on this, but did Melissa take every event on this? It looks like it.
Yeah, Melissa took first and everyone, Sarah took second, and Chrissy.
Okay, so that was pretty much across the board. So if we were to break down, like I said, if there was some different mix-ups, we could maybe kind of highlight some different things. But going across the event list, there was the 2-inch Raptor, the 3x4 Saxon bar by Arm Assassin, and then there was the freestyle hub lift. And that was pretty much your, starting off with the stage 2 events for the Super Series.
Yes.
And then for the GSI lifts that were added onto it for the dual sanction was a 2 3/8 Napalm Nightmare and one hand to bloom. and I guess I count those as GSI lists, but the 3x4 Saxon bar is contested on both sides. So that's kind of a neutral event in that aspect. So
I'm also not sure what Eric's going to add to the grip board. I'm not sure if he's going to add the 2-inch Raptor. He may
The GSI,
for the GSI. I mean,
because they already have the 2.5 and 3 in there.
okay.
there's
I
the 2-hand blue is also on there.
Okay, so yeah, so those maybe potentially get added in. I know sometimes, depending on how often something's contested, it's kind of like either left off the list if it's not like a common item, or sometimes it's like, well, hey, we already have this, so why would we not add the next diameter or something? So yeah, so pretty much if we were to break down the female division, first place would have been Melissa Dingey, and that's pretty much a clean sweep across all those events. And then that's Sara Saffell coming in second place, and that's basically taking second across the board on all of those events. And then I hope I get the last name correct, Chrissy Foraker, if I pronounced that wrong.
4-acre.
Yeah. So, and then her basically, coming in that third place spot there to fill up the podium. So that would be how the female stuff kind of panned out. But based on past competitions and, like I said, having a new lifter, there's probably not anything super surprising in that result, if that makes sense. That they, kind of probably pretty standard. Now with the men, it starts to get a little more in depth because, like I said, you got 7 or 8 guys and everybody varies in body weight. We had the youngest lifter being 26 years old.
Yes.
And then Jason being the oldest lifter, the the OG. Yeah, we had lifters ranging from 26 to 50 years old for age group for the males, and then didn't really have any lightweight guys. Everybody was pretty much, we had one lifter under 200 pounds and just under 200 pounds, and then everybody else was 200 plus. So you're pretty much looking at that 93, if we're talking GSI, 93, 105 and up, or if we're talking arm lifting, you're talking 90, 100 kg and on up. So all the guys were roughly bigger body weights and pretty strong mix, but it was kind of like I said, there's guys like you that have been doing this longer than me. I've been competing for a couple of years, kind of in the middle. And then there's some guys that like, this is their second competition or maybe even their first. So we'll just start with the Raptor. Was there anything that surprised you guys about the Raptor, or do you guys have any opinions about like your performance or maybe some of the other lifters' performances on the Raptor?
Speaking for myself, I hit a small PR on the Raptor, so, but I'll take a small PR any day of the week.
Yeah, especially in a competition. I mean, yeah. Jason, what about you? Any thoughts on the Raptor? You won that event, so any thoughts about that? You won the event, but I think you still weren't very happy with that pull.
I mean, I hope, yeah, I did 220, and that was, I guess, my goal. Because I got sick a couple weeks prior in Finland, and I knocked everything down.
Gotcha.
Before I went over there, I tested that Raptor once, and I did 230 on it. So I had high hopes I could get, at least that. But
how'd you like your performance on that, Zach?
Man, see, coming into this whole thing, all right, I thought like Jason's out of reach for me. I've lifted with Jason before, so I said Jason's out of reach, and I said, man, I've seen you lift at the Arnold and stuff, Mike. So I've seen you lift. We've never spoke a ton.
I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. That's why I made the trip. But yeah, man, I kind of was looking at the event lineup for me and you, and I really thought like, man, I know Mike is bigger and stronger than me, and I know like the Napalm Nightmare, I instantly would have given to you because I'm like, man, Mike's going to kill me on Napalm Nightmare, so that's one I'm going to give up. I was like, Saxon, seeing some of your Saxon numbers, I'm like, if I have a good day, we'll both probably be close on that. And then I'm like, my rolling handle's pretty strong. So for my Raptor performance, I pulled 197, and when I made the jump to 202, which you hit, I think I broke it off the ground a couple inches, but it wasn't close to lockout at all. So you took that event from me. So losing that event, knowing that I already had another event that I was going to be giving up on the Napalm Nightmare, my goal was to try to keep as close to you as I could, or possibly squeak out second place. That was just my goal going into this. And after the Raptor, we were separated by 5 pounds. So I was like, okay, we're still good. Like, maybe I got a big Saxon coming up. And then as we got into Saxon, I just bombed on Saxon. In my opinion, I bombed on Saxon. I missed a lift that probably should have been easy. And then you pulled off a couple of really nice lifts that kind of catapulted you up about, 20 pounds above me. And I was like, well, all right, now we're 0 for 2. And I have a napalm event, getting ready to come up that I'm going to lose. I'm basically losing 3 out of 5. So once I kind of screwed up on the Saxon and you pulled really well on that, I pretty much kind of knew how the event was going to shake out at that point. Now, had I beat you on the rolling handle or something, or tied you on Saxon, maybe we could, maybe the other events could have been entertaining, but I just underperformed a little bit for my liking. And, but yeah, there's no excuse. I mean, I pulled good on the Raptor. I was just 5 pounds off of you there. But the Saxon was disappointing to me. How did you feel about your Saxon, Mike?
I was very happy with it.
So you pulled 230, which is,
Yeah,
I mean, like I said, on
that's
any,
the highest. Well, that's the highest I pulled for arm lifting. I've done, I think it's 234 is on what I'm on at GSI.
yeah, and that can be a hit or miss lift, especially with so many different hands on the bar and the bar kind of changing throughout the lifts, and there's just a lot of variables there. So anytime that you can take
40, I had 240 in training the week before.
Okay. So yeah, anytime you can get kind of within that, I guess 90-95% range of what you've been doing in training and kind of, I don't know, hit that mark in competition, I feel like that's pretty solid. Now, if I start falling below like 90% of what I hit in training, then I'm like, okay, something's off, or I got to change something in my training. And then once again, I think there's probably going to be a similar theme, kind of how Melissa ran the bracket on the female side. Well, not completely. He didn't win every event because we did have a tie, but we'll get to that. So for Saxon, it pretty much panned out with most of the, I would say, newer lifters. Most of the newer lifters that were there kind of pulled between 145 pounds and up to 165 pounds. And then us 3 kind of closed out that with me landing a 210 and bombing a terrible 220 lift, which is terrible, but regardless. Mike, you went on to hit 230. Jason, you pulled 250. Now, in training not too long ago, Jason, you were pulling 270, 280. Did you feel kind of the same thing that I just brought up? Like maybe the Saxon bar changed texture during the event? Is there something that you felt contributed to that? Was it you being sick from the Finland trip? Like,
yeah, I mean, I knew I wasn't be 100% and get 280.
Yeah.
But like Wednesday, I was desperate to try to get all the strength back I could. So I trained Wednesday, did like a full workout, and went up to 258 on the Saxon, and it was pretty easy. So I thought I should be, 260 or a little more in the competition, but yeah, 260 didn't happen.
Yeah, no, and
yeah, I mean, some of the chalk came off by the time,
yeah,
that I was on it and everything, so that didn't help. I don't know, but it just.
Well, and another thing I guess I'll bring up that maybe somebody doesn't think about, or I mean, I've done a lot of different contest formats. You guys have as well, so you kind of know how it can vary. I mean, sometimes you pull a lift and you got to go disappear for 30 minutes because there's so many people doing their thing, and you almost have to like cool down and kind of keep yourself warm. Whereas with this style of venue, we pretty much had the newer lifters before us. They would kind of pull and then get out of our way. And then it was like me and Mike just looking at each other like, what do you want? What do you want? So we were just following ourselves really quickly. And then Jason, you basically, after we would bow out, you'd have to follow yourself pretty quickly. So I'm not saying that's the reason that maybe some of these lifts we pulled a little lower, but it is a little bit.
I was prepared for that because that's how it always goes.
Okay.
In this, at our smaller comps. So
Yeah. I
I
guess
don't
maybe
know.
that's something that,
I don't think that was a big factor because I try to train
Okay.
like that with a couple minute break.
okay. I just
So,
wasn't sure like if that contributed because like I said, some people take longer breaks, especially when they do these max pulls in training or something, and maybe they're not aware of keeping a
right.
shorter rest period that would match up the competition. And in this one, it's like, I don't know. I'm not saying if I got like an extra 2 to 3 minutes, maybe I would have pulled better. Maybe, maybe not. But we were at the end, like once the other male competitors kind of dropped off, it was really us three. And then it was like me and Mike would go till I'd be out. And then Mike was pretty much kind of following himself. Then like you'd kind of come in and then we all kind of followed ourselves to an extent there on most of these events at the end. So yeah, 250 being that top lift there for Saxon bar. And then we move into the freestyle hub, which I am not wild about this event. I just feel like it's a weird event to me because it's taking a traditional hub lift and then it's kind of like mixing it into a V bar lift, but it's not. It's not a V bar lift and it's not a hub lift. It's kind of like this weird hybrid, and some people really like it because they can just like wrap their fingers around it and it's like really strong, and other people are just like both versions of the hub suck for me. So yeah, there's mixed opinions on this one, but definitely a kind of an interesting event. Now, looking at this, one that I would like to bring up that stood out to me was Rob from Vintage Weights PGH. Rob pulled 75 pounds, so that's in a freestyle grip, but that's still a good lift. I mean, with either grip, I think that's a good lift.
Up there.
And yeah, he pulled that with I mean, being his second competition ever, he pulled that. So I mean, that was an event where like it's his second competition, but he beat me in that event because like I said, I underperformed again. So I had kind of had a rough go on the hub and definitely didn't land what I thought I would land. So I kind of ended up towards the bottom 3 or 4 on that one. And then I think you guys both pulled off pretty solid performances. Mike, you ended up tying Rob at 75.
I ended up hitting a 2.5 pound PR on that one.
Okay.
Very happy with that one because I suck at pitching.
And yeah, going from there, and then like I said, Jason, and then you won that one at 95 pounds. Was that pretty comparable to what you had done in training, or how did you feel about that?
No, I hope to do at least 100. I'm usually 100, 105. I've done.
Okay.
I hope to do 100 also.
But yeah, but we all knew that had no chance. Well, I've actually done it.
Yeah. So
So yeah, I was. Yeah, my goal was to get 100 minimum, but didn't happen. Of course, still not bad.
all right, now once we broke into the Napalm Nightmare, which was the 2 3/8 Napalm Nightmare that was contested. I say newer guys. Like I said, I don't know the extent of what they've done grip, but it's probably not as many competitions as the three of us have done. So that's not like a disrespect thing of like, oh, the new guys. It's like I'm just saying that to their credit, this may be the first or second time they've touched this stuff. They might not even own the implements, and they're just showing up and kind of competing and stuff like that. So most of the males kind of pulled 230s to 270 range for that lift. And then we all kind of died out in the 300s. Now, I wasn't too far off of a PR for this one. I think the last lift I took that I missed would have been a PR by like 3 pounds or something. But this is the only event for this competition that Jason didn't win. So Jason, you tied Mike on this one. Yeah. So I'll ask Mike how he feels about that because I think I already know what Jason's going to say. But Mike, how did you feel about that?
Feel about tying him? That feels great tying him. Both of our numbers were off on that.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's usually not the fourth event contested in the contest, something that heavy. But kind of wanted to get in, took a little vote on it, and that's what people kind of decided. So, and since it was a little bit more for the Super Series. We couldn't really put that first, then kind of
Yeah.
sacrifice in that. So that was about the best place to put it. Yeah, I think we're about 4 hours in at that point at the contest, so it takes a toll after a while.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we had pulled a little bit of thick bar with the Raptor. You're kind of burning your thumbs and wrists a little bit with the Saxon. So by the time you get to that fourth event and just the duration of time, for anybody that's newer, I mean, you can definitely see kind of a fluctuation in 10 or 20 pounds, depending on like what event is put before the next one. You know what I mean? If we shuffle these events, we could get totally different numbers. Like you said, if we put the Napalm Nightmare first, you guys might have lifted, into the 400s or whatever. But with it being fourth and kind of everything. Okay.
I just had nothing for it.
Yeah, I think I'm 396 or 97 on GSI.
Okay. And yeah, like I think my best pull's like right around 350. So I mean, I pulled like 343. Wasn't super happy about it. I did a 10-pound jump and I think I missed 353. But yeah, I could just feel that I was a little bit off on that. I didn't really feel great going into that event. But it's just worth mentioning. That's the one event that you guys tied on. So yeah, for bragging rights or for whatever the case is,
Only the beginning.
That at least prevented Jason from saying he had a clean sweep. So Jason was trying to act like, he's going to get a clean sweep. We had to at least tie him in something, right?
Yep.
Well, I did hit the knock bar with 388, I will say.
Using the secret method.
If you don't remember, I did hit the knock bar.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Why, but
so then if we go to finish, it would be the one hand doubloon, which is basically a kind of a narrow key pinch device. Most people are probably familiar with it, but if anybody's not, it's a little thin strip of metal and you're pretty much just using your index and your thumb. It's a key pinch. And Jason, is this something that you hold the record on?
I don't know, maybe. I don't know if I still do or not. I know I did. I don't know if anybody.
Okay. But this is a lift that this is a lift that you have kind of excelled at in the past, or you're pretty high up on the list.
Yeah, but not a ton of people have done it or have.
True. Yeah, true. So it's not like a little bighorn or a crusher where we've had it like numerous years and there's a big pool of people that we can kind of, scale each other to. But this event, like this one being weird, and this is one of those, like it's going to be a little bit smaller because, people are pulling in the, 40s, 50s and stuff like that. I topped out at 56 pounds, which looks like it was second place for that event. And then Jason, you were close to 70 pounds once you got up to like 70 or 71, but I think you ended up on the score sheet hitting 68.5 pounds. So is that pretty close to what you pulled before?
Then I tried 71.
And like I said, that's the last event of the competition and it's kind of a weird event in general. I don't know. I'm not a big key pinch fan, but yeah, so like I said, that just gives kind of a general rundown. And I know with the females, there's only 3. So it's kind of like, well, this is 1, 2, and 3 for them. And that's pretty straightforward, but that's just how the contest panned out. For the male side of things, like I said, the 3 most experienced competitors pretty much hit 1, 2, and 3. So that's kind of straightforward. So I'm not trying to exclude people or, leave them out of the mix. It's just kind of being newer and getting a feel for your first few competitions. It would be a big ask for, guys that maybe weigh closer to 200 pounds or mid 2s to come in and, maybe lift against guys that are weighing 260 or 300 plus that have been doing this for 6 or 7 years, 8 years. I don't know. How long have you guys been training total for this specific style sport?
Oh, almost close to 6 now.
Okay.
Yeah, we started there towards the end of 2018.
Gotcha.
Decided to have a contest.
So yeah, I just don't want to. I didn't want to make it seem like I'm leaving those guys out because I'm just mentioning us 3. But it's similar to the female bracket where it's kind of like the same 1, 2, 3. Pretty much every event down the line was kind of roughly the way it goes, and that's how it can be with kind of a smaller overall pool of people. But overall, man, I enjoyed
What
the
were the rest of
contest.
the placings? I don't. How'd the rest of the men go?
I don't know that I have them completely written out in
Mike's
order.
got it here.
Okay,
I got
yeah. Okay, yeah, and I think I have it here too as well. So yeah, go ahead, Mike. You can break that down for us if you want to give a full rundown of the overall placing for female and male, and just run down that.
Okay, so I'll go with the males here right now.
Okay.
So Jason was first, I was second, you were third. Fourth place was Rob. Fifth was Nick Fritz. He comes out to my gym. That's probably about his, I think, third competition. He does more of the powerlifting and strong.
I was gonna say he looked like a big strong guy. So I mean, maybe he's not super familiar with grip, but I mean, you could see some muscle on him. He's a dense dude, so you can tell he lifts
in more
weights.
ways than one.
Yeah, he just doesn't train grip enough to be. He could be, I think, make some good progress.
Yeah.
He's just more into the powerlifting strongman right now. But
Yeah. Trey Abbott, he came in sixth, and then Mike Laura, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his last name. He came in seventh, but he had to leave right after the arm lifting portion. He had other commitments.
Well, and I don't know if it's worth noting. I'd have to do like a deeper dive on some of these numbers here, but he was also the lightest competitor. So he was our only guy that weighed under 200 pounds as well. So not only did he miss some events because of the leaving after the Super Series portion, he's also the guy at the lightest body weight. And it's not always a linear comparison in grip. Body weight means stronger, but there still is a little something there when, like I know I feel it when I start lifting against guys like Mike that maybe are 250, 260. It's like we get into some of these events like a Napalm Nightmare. It matters. And I can tell, it's like if I were able to cut down to 93 or 83, I'm going to place higher overall and blah, blah, blah. So body weight figures into it a little bit, but like I said, yeah, probably him missing those last couple events would have probably been more responsible for that placing than just the weight.
I'm sorry. I think after the first round of the Super Series, I think he said he was in 8th place in his weight class, and that was the first one was his first competition. So
okay, yeah,
not too bad there.
So it'll be interesting because, like I said, I mean that GSI stuff that we did that counted for the EOGC, our overall competition there, but that's not going towards the Super Series. So in Mike's case, whatever he pulled on those first 3 events, that's going to go towards his stage 2. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these, if we just exclude the GSI lifts for a minute and just focus on the first 3 events, it'll be interesting to kind of see how everybody's stage 2 pans out, because those results should be coming out pretty soon. And that was going to be my next question. We got some newer guys that it's their first time doing the Super Series. It'll be interesting to see how the new guys at your venue pan out when we get everybody else's venues for the Super Series in. But how do both of you guys feel about, where you feel like you might, any predictions of where you may end up in the Super Series for your guys' weight classes?
I was after the first one, I was second in the super heavyweight class and first in the over 50 class. So I don't know. I didn't think I did enough to hold on to those spots.
Okay.
I mean, but I don't know. I wasn't
who was
very confident to.
Yeah.
Who
was first place?
Up.
Who was first over you in that?
AJ, I don't know him.
Okay. Out on the West Coast.
He lives with Ode.
Yeah, he's out at the training hall area with some of the West Coast
young,
guys.
strong guy. I think he does strongman, but I don't know him. But super strong, thick bar. I know that.
Yeah, I think like when he first popped on the scene, he pulled like a 250 or like a damn near like a 260 crusher. And it's like, because the lift was so high for King Kong, it was kind of like, hey, can you send me a video of that lift? They kind of wanted to double check it because it's not like every day somebody's pulling 250s on the crusher, and it was like, that's day one. So that's probably a future threat for the heavyweight guys to look out for. He's kind of burst on the scene here. Probably the last 6 to 12 months, maybe, and this is, this first year for him, but he seems to be up there, and the more he competes, I think he'll be an interesting heavyweight competitor to have if he stays around. And then Mike, what weight class are you in for Super Series?
The 125.
Okay, so 125s. And were you fourth place after the stage one?
Yeah, fourth place by I think 2.5, 3 points, something like that.
Okay, so a small margin.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like having a pretty good Saxon pull, PR on the Raptor, PR on the Hub? Do you think you strung enough together there to maybe jump a spot?
I should be able to jump a spot. I don't think I'm catching Ode, and I don't remember who's in first place right now, but I think my uncanny ability to kind of pull lifts out of my ass in competitions, that kind of helps a little bit. They kind of come out of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah, I need some of those special powers, especially on a day when
Yeah,
I'm
you
bombing half the
definitely
time.
had the best performance out of the three of us at the competition.
Yeah, because like I said, I mean, you maybe kind of alluded to like, okay, for the GSI lift of the Napalm Nightmare, it's fourth. It's typically not contested fourth in a lineup. That was maybe underwhelming for you. But outside of that, you really kind of had even if they're slight PRs, you pretty much kind of had all PRs in 2 to 3 events for the Super Series.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking the Hub was going to be like, that's my make or break thing. Just kind of like when we get in King Kong, the pinch stuff, it drops me so much, and I can't recover from being able to not do very much on that, on pinch events in King Kong.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if we can see it, but this is the EOGC shirt. So Mike went ahead and just to add in, like, Mike had shirts for, competitors that signed up. So like if you registered and everything. So I thought that was cool. I like the shirts. We know Jason liked that they were blue. That was the color of choice for Jason. But yeah, so I thought the shirts were cool.
Everybody wants a t-shirt when you go to a competition.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that you provided that. You did a great job, Mike, of kind of keeping things concise, but also just breaking down the lifts, because like I said, we did have some newer lifters in the room. So you taking that time to kind of, I mean, it might have been really quick and direct, but I think keeping it in that simple language made it easier for everybody in the room. Cause some people will almost try to like get up there and do like a 10-minute seminar on the rules. And it's like, it's a little overkill. It's like, hey, we're already going to be here for like 4 or 5 hours. Like, just here's how you pick it up. Do this, do that. Don't do, it's like, if you have any other questions, we can address those after. So I thought you did a really good job of ensuring that all the new lifters knew what the lift was, knew what was allowed, what wasn't allowed. And I thought you did a good job of breaking that down. And like I said, I'm not just saying this because you're sitting here, but one of the complaints for Armlifting USA that we hear from different sides, and everybody has these political things and whatever. And I'm not even getting into that portion of it, but it can be tricky with some of these grip lifts to judge lockout sometimes. So I will say, from however many attempts we had, and seeing everybody and those all the armlifting events being lockout called, there were some that were probably, razor thin right there, maybe need a little video review, but from a judging standpoint, I thought you did very well. I don't think that you gave credit to anybody that didn't achieve a certain lift. And if they achieved it, they got credit. And if the lift wasn't up to standard, I think that you did a very good job judging for what it's worth.
So get better at it. I think might have missed a couple, but for the most part, I think I did halfway decent.
Yeah, like I said, I just think that, like, if someone was to review the videos and go back through it, you're not going to look at any lift that you passed and say, man, what was Mike thinking on that one? It's like, I think that it was very consistent judging. And I don't know, like I said, it's easy for people to complain about lockouts, but I don't think they can with your venue, because I think you did everything to standard and I think it was good. So just worth mentioning. And you had the trophies. Now, The only issue I had with the trophies is that mine said third place on it. So I gotta.
Hey,
but
I've got
that-
to get going now. I got to go pick my daughter up from school.
okay, Jason. Yeah, yeah.
Gotta head out now.
All right, man. Well, thanks for at least taking the time real quick. And like I said, we're pretty much at the end anyway. So we'll
All right, man.
we'll wrap it up not too shortly after this. But yeah, we'll thank the mighty Jason
So I'm
for
moving in the middle here.
taking time. But yeah, Mike, that was just kind of my joke, man. Yeah, I thought the trophies were cool, provided shirts, everything else, for the competitors. And I think overall just a well-ran comp. Like I said, I'm bitching, complaining, saying, "Oh, my trophy says third place on it." Well, that's on me, so I got to fix that. That's just me messing around.
Mine always says second. So
You got to like get Jason injured or something, or pick
my
like
trophy
some
always
events.
says second in my place.
You got to find out. You got to find out a way to like in your training sessions leading into a competition, maybe just like overwork Jason a little bit, get him injured, do something, man.
I'm trying.
But yeah, do you have any like kind of I guess closing thoughts when it comes to the event? I mean, I kind of mentioned the judging, the aspect, bringing in new people, female athletes. We've covered a lot with just the recap, but do you have anything that maybe stood out to you or any closing statements you'd like to bring up?
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to my wife Sarah. She does all the scoring for it. She writes everything down. Kind of yells at me, keeps me in line on stuff. I don't think she yelled at me any Saturday.
Not too much, but I will second that there was plenty of times where we would be standing around and not have a clue what was on the bar, and that was our go-to. How much is this? How much is this? And every
Yeah, she
time
does a
it'd be
pretty
like,
good job.
she was on top of it, knew exactly what each jump was and everything like that. So yeah, a lot of credit to Sarah for that, because we're trying to pick our next attempts and jumps and stuff like that, and we're running around doing whatever. You don't want to misload plates. You don't want to have anything like that happen. So she was very on the ball with the scorekeeping and ensuring that every jump was calculated properly and making sure that all that ran smooth. So
Yeah, next year we're hoping to have our house built, and then I can have air conditioning in the gym, and then what I'd like to do is run 2 platforms at one time, kind of the lighter weights, then kind of keep it moving a little bit more, so it's not quite a marathon session like we had on Saturday.
Yeah, I've done I've done the first 2 super series. I didn't compete really fully this year because I missed stage 1. But in the past, Chad Clark ran things that way. In Virginia, Chad's not too far. So Chad Clark would do that, where he kind of split it by like beginners on one platform and then like the more advanced guys. You just have less plate changing and plate loading going on. And that format worked out really well. But also in Virginia they just had so many people. It's like you had to split it into 2 platforms. But no, I think that'll be a good idea and something to look forward to as we move forward with that competition, or as you move forward with it. It's not like it's I say we, as we move forward. I plan on competing again and coming back up and making the trips and everything, because I'm originally from Ohio, so coming back home and lifting is fun for me. But yeah, it's like I'm not in charge of anything at the competition. I'm just a regular old lifter. So but yeah, man, Mike, if you got any other closing thoughts, let me know. If not, we can go ahead and sign off on this. Like I said, I tried to keep it a little short, but I can ramble sometimes, and just kind of breaking down different stats. We had, 5 different lifts to kind of cover. And it is the first recap. So like anything else, over time, it'll probably be a little more concise and improved, but whatever.
I will say,
anything to add?
Being in the strange part of Ohio that I'm in, a lot of the lifters that I've gotten over the years, they've been, it's Jason, Melissa, Sarah, and I. But then we'll get lifters from, say, Morgantown. You're obviously the farthest away that's come to a competition. I think I've had someone from Indiana before. So people are coming around to it. I just don't think hasn't taken off around this area, and I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah, no, I think you guys, kind of, both couples being right there and having a kind of an extensive background in training and stuff. That's a good way to start it up. And to kind of add to your point there, we had 2 lifters come in from Pittsburgh, correct? So
Rob and Mike. Yeah.
yeah, so just to kind of to add to that, we mentioned Saffell Performance, we mentioned the gym, we mentioned EOGC. We didn't necessarily tackle where it was on the map. Now that's in Bethesda, Ohio. So for anybody that's not familiar, that is, like the title says, over on the east. But that opens the door for some of those people that are right there, you know, maybe in Pittsburgh or some of these other states that are kind of surrounding those borders to come over. So just because you see Ohio, don't think that because you're, you know, in a different state somewhere that maybe it's not within a decent driving distance of you. So yeah, I thought that was worth mentioning, that, you know, the location of where you're at in Ohio, there's some bigger cities around and within that driving distance. So you might be pulling from some of those other cities more than you do even like the small hometown or wherever else that's close by. You know, maybe there's 4 or 5 guys that the Pittsburgh crew can bring in and maybe, you know, bump some numbers up or whatever the case may be. But at least wanted to put it out there where you guys were.
I think Pittsburgh, we're about an hour and a half, hour and 45 from Pittsburgh, about 2 hours from Columbus. I want to say around 2 hours to Morgantown.
Okay.
So we're kind of, and then West Virginia is 20 minutes away, I think.
Okay. So yeah. So if anybody is located, I'm just going to throw this out there. If anybody's located in those surrounding states or any of those bigger cities or areas, or if you're just in Ohio in general, look to reach out to Mike or reach out to Jason. And if this is something that you might be interested in doing, or maybe you want to host your own stuff and you need advice from guys that know how to host, or you want to compete at their stuff to get a feel for it, reach out to the experienced guys like Mike and Jason. And if you're remotely in that area, you can get the hands-on experience and compete and kind of build things up. But yeah, if you're in that area, for sure, try to get in contact with these people. Don't get me wrong. We all like setting PRs and training in our garage or our home gym or wherever facilities we train at, but it's still nice to get around more experienced people. You're always going to learn a little bit more in person. You're always going to get pushed a little bit more in person. So I would just urge anybody that finds themselves in those areas that Mike named, if it's piquing your interest a little bit, get up with these guys and go to their competition, or, you know, get up with them one time and, you know, hit up a training session and just kind of see if you like it and see, you know, see where it goes basically. But yeah, Mike, I've enjoyed doing a recap. Like I said, this first one I've really jumped off with. So there will be more. And for anybody that's wondering, I'm not only going to recap competitions I go to. It is totally possible for me to take event results from places that I wasn't at and look at a spreadsheet or break them down, or like maybe it's a super series, maybe it's the Arnold, or, you know, maybe I'm not there for something. I will still recap big events or recap events that people host. That would be more of the host kind of reaching out to me or us discussing it. But for starting off with the first recap, it makes it easier doing it for a competition that I was hands-on at and got to witness with my own eyes. So have no fear. If you're like out on the West Coast, it doesn't mean I'm not going to cover your competition. Or if you're in the middle in like Kansas somewhere, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to cover the competition if you're not on the East. It's just that for starters, and this being like the debut of recaps, just wanted to keep it easy, keep it a competition that I was at, that I witnessed everything at, and it just makes it easier to cover. So all kinds of recaps and stuff. Once these competitions start coming up, we got a busier schedule. About to come up. Stage 2 just wrapped up. I got to do this heavy hand stuff in Virginia coming up September 9th. There's like King Kong, the Olympia. So the rest of the year is going to have some opportunities for some recaps coming up. And I might not be able to attend all of those, but I'll still be able to cover them for everybody. I just might need some help on the spreadsheets and everything else, but enough about that. So Mike, really thank you for your time. Thank you for, like I said, the shirts, the trophies, just putting together a good event, the consistent judging, and creating a welcoming environment for new lifters, and kind of opening that door to build grip sport and arm lifting in general, but especially like within your area, kind of extending that out and stuff. So I think it's really cool, and I won't take up any more of your time, man. So I'll go ahead and I'll sign off with that. And like I said, look forward to competing in the future with you again sometime. But yeah, for now, I'll just stay in touch with you on some training stuff and just count on me being at future EOGCs. So solid competition. And for everybody else, just keep staying tuned. The interviews and recaps are going to keep rolling out, and just going to try to keep momentum building for the sport. A lot of this is just to put info out there to people that don't know about this stuff. It's building the sport, trying to push the sport in the right direction and get eyes on the sport. So Mike is one of those guys doing that, and I'm glad he's doing that up there in Ohio. And I'm going to be trying to do the same thing in my area. So I don't view this as my show. I guess technically it is. I kind of view it as our show, like the grip community as a whole. So I kind of view it as everybody's show. So part of this is just giving guys like you and everybody else a platform so we can push this stuff out here and let people know that this is a legit sport. It's easy to get into. And I think if more people knew that, and the more people that get exposed to it, the bigger it'll be. And yeah, so thanks again, Mike.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll see you, man.